Get to know the name, folks. You want to talk about a dog.
Dog. Oh, my God. I love this
Hat
kid.
on a hat.
I think he should go top 40, in my opinion. I mean, he's high on my board. You want to talk about a guy that absolutely dominated the Senior Bowl. Hey, put me in again. Had his hand raised. In and out, in and out. By the way, Bond talking about he was going to break the 40 record. How about you run faster than your teammate? Huh? I mean, what are we doing?
I'm shooting for the stars. We're talking about the running back position. Give me somebody that can strike up the band. Give me a home run hitter. Lightning in a bottle. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever We Want Dallas Commanders Draft podcast. I'm your host, Handsome Joe. Joining me is a man whose high school coaches said he could have been All-State if not for his lack of hustle. The man, the myth, the legend, Collin Cheney. What's up, dude?
Nothing much, dude. Just got the couch out downstairs, out of here. Got a new couch coming in for you guys to come over. Pumped up about it.
Yeah, honestly, it needed to happen.
We need to get you here a Wednesday night, to be honest. We need to get you here Wednesday to Saturday. Thursday, Friday, we'll be getting after it. Everybody wants to be at our draft party.
It's an exclusive event.
Thursday morning, I get so many text messages. Where are you watching the draft? What's your plan? I said, you're not part of it. I'm sorry. I got my day ones here.
Especially Thursday night. It's sacred. It's a sacred night for sure.
Get out. If you're not talking ball, you got to get out. None of this, who's drinking what, we're taking shots. No. All right? 29th pick. 29th
Lock
pick.
in.
Ball. Adam Peters.
It's a long night this year,
we
too.
were picking
29.
we were picking Bruce Allen's brain, right? We can't pick Adam's brain. The guy is an absolute lunatic. We're signing veterans. We thought we were going to sign top 10 guys coming into free agency. We got no idea what's going on. But anyways.
Yeah. All right, folks, we got an absolute banger for you today, right out the gate. First ever episode. Like I said, we are a Commanders Draft podcast. Collin and myself, we have been draft junkies, huge Redskins fans and Commanders fans for, since we were babies. And the draft is a huge, huge passion for both of us. That's actually how we both met. We've kind of bonded over the draft. Almost a decade now, Collin. You realize that? It's been 10 years.
Almost 10 years. Payne draft, how long is, we really liked Deron Payne when he was coming out. And he was the guy we really wanted. We hated Vita Vea. Even though Vita Vea kind of did proved us wrong a little bit. All right. We're not going to get too far into that. There's guys we've hit on, and there's guys we did not hit on. And we'll get to that. Hey, part of this podcast is accountability. All right?
Hey, no one's going to hit 100%. Even the best don't hit 100%.
I'm pretty excited about getting into some of these players at 29 because everybody is saying edge, maybe a corner.
Yeah, that's the thing that we're going to get into today, guys, is we're talking about positions of need. We've identified 5 positions that, we figure have to be targets at some point in this draft. But what we're going to do for each of those positions, we're going to identify a round 1 target, and then a day 2 target, and then a possible day 3 target. We're going to be as realistic as we can with this, right? We're not going to say, Ashton Gillotte is our dream pick at 29, right? There's going to be an element of realism to this, right? But with that being said, these are guys that Collin and I are pounding the table for. If we had the pick, if we were in the war room with Adam Peters and Lance Newmark, and we had that Commander's tag in our hands, these are our guys. This is who we would want. But we're going to do that for 5 different positions. So this episode may be 20 minutes. It might be an hour and a half. We might have to make this a 2-part episode once we get into this thing because we got a lot of guys to talk about here. You want to kick things off, Collin? You ready to get started?
Should we start with edge since everybody thinks we should go
edge? I think that makes the most sense, right? Edge is the number 1 position that has been talked about this offseason. It's the number 1 position everybody expected Washington to be active in free agency, right? When, we were all reading all those pre-free agency articles so many of them were linking us to various different edge types. It is a huge need. I agree. And to be honest, I don't really feel that it was filled, certainly not to the level that everybody expected, Got a lot of good depth for sure. I think a lot of guys that are going to be part of a rotation really help improve that run defense. But I think it makes sense to start there for sure.
And another thing, sorry to interrupt with you, Joe. After the top 10 of these picks this year, anybody from 10 to 32 this year, people are going to come into the comments and be like, he won't be there. There's some guys that have a lot of talent, but their off-the-field issues can push them down the boards. We've seen some crazy things on draft night.
Your point is valid, right? Like, it happens every year. And I would say, especially this year, it sounds, if we're to believe what the insiders are saying, there is as big a lack of consensus among GMs around the league this year than in recent memory, right? So we're talking about guys that everybody right now in the media, could be like consistently a top 10 guy, a top 15 guy, that all of a sudden, it's 26, 27. Me and Collin in his living room on the new couch are looking at each other like, what's going on here with this guy? Like we never even, it's like a name we wouldn't have ever discussed because we never thought he'd be there.
And a guy that's losing steam fast is Will Johnson from Michigan. People are worried about his injury last year. I'm a big Michigan fan, so I know a little bit about these Michigan fans. And Joseph will tell you, I am not biased about Michigan players. Usually I hate them, not love them.
Sorry about that. We got almost 10 minutes in. Couldn't quite get there before the first Michigan mention of the podcast. It's unfortunate. It's on me. I take full accountability for it. I should have prepped them better. But yeah, I mean, it's out there. It is what it is, and we're gonna keep it moving here. Will Johnson, certainly a name that we've seen, kind of just steadily drop down these mocks. At one point during the season, right, he's a consensus top 10 guy. Now I've seen him mocked as into the 20s, depending on who you're reading. So it'll be interesting for sure. I want you to give me your dream 29 pick if it's edge.
So I'm going to go with a guy that blew it up at the combine. Some people are putting in the top 10, but I've seen him go all the way to 32 to the Eagles, and that's going to be Shemar Stewart from Texas A&M. Just a guy, you want to talk explosive. Guy that can set the edge, has weight, he's got height. I don't think we can roll a guy out like Donovan Ezaraku out there at 248, 6'2", even though he's got 34-inch arms. Long arms can separate, but he doesn't bring the pop to the chest that I need against Lane Johnson at right tackle. Donovan Ezaraku is kind of like a pass rush specialist. We don't have that luxury to be drafting specialists right now. I understand he graded out well against the run, but when you turn the tape on, it's kind of a slip under kind of run defense. It's not a stack shed kind of defense. We need to be playing physical at the line of scrimmage. And I understand Shemar Stewart only had 1.5 sacks this year. I get the production's low. But at 29, you're kind of shooting for potential. And in that second and third round, you grab a guy that you know is steady and has good production.
And one thing I like about that pick, Shemar Stewart, I think there's actually a pretty high floor as a run defender, right? Just the raw athlete, the size and the athleticism he is, I think he'll be able to hold his own as a run defender right away. So at worst, you're getting an above average run defender out the gate that you hope, if he reaches his potential, if he reaches his ceiling, we're talking about a Pro Bowl caliber possible defensive end as a pass rusher, right? Getting pressure. But right out the gate, I think he'll help with the run defense.
And it's not even just on the field with him. Dane Brugler talks about how Shemar Stewart is a good locker room guy. Just plays hard as hell, which Quinn's going to love. He's going to love turning on this tape and seeing this guy running across the field, making tackles down a line of scrimmage and never giving up. He takes on double teams great at times. So much raw athleticism we can work with here and coach up to make something. Now, when he gets in the backfield, he's got to start finishing. But guess what? Another thing, he led Texas A&M in pressures. It's not all about sacks. He led them in pressure, and we want him to get in the backfield. Him being bigger, too, is going to help on the edge, against the run, obviously.
I love it. I think that would be a slam dunk pick. I'd be very excited. There's just so much potential there. And at 29, right, how picky can you really be, right? There's 28 players that are off the board at that point. To get a player with his upside, I would be fired up for sure. My pick, it's funny how similar, after 10 years together, Collin and I tend to agree a lot, unfortunately. But it's funny that my player is such in my opinion, a similar type of pick to yours. My guy,
I knew it.
Mykel Williams.
I mean,
defensive end, Georgia. So it's a similar type of situation there, right? We're talking about a guy that doesn't have that production, doesn't have that breakout that everyone necessarily expected, but the athleticism is off the charts. The size is everything you'd want, is incredible, right? I personally think Mykel Williams is coming out a little bit lower this year because of the injury, right? He was playing through injuries too, but you'll see games, the Texas game, for example, where, I mean, this guy looks incredible, right? Again, a guy that while, he is a bit raw, right, in the pass rush, a guy that didn't, produce similar to Shemar, but again, very similar philosophically. The floor is high as a run defender, right? Again, I think Mykel Williams, just like with Shemar Stewart, right out the gate, you're getting a guy that's going to be able to help you in run defense, which is my number one priority in this draft if I had to pick one. I like the depth pieces we've brought in along the defensive line this offseason. That's my biggest concern still entering 2025, right? So either of these two players, I think, helps you in that regard right away. And then shoot, if they hit their ceiling, right, you have a huge steal at 29, in my opinion. Defensive end's such a valuable position. I'd be very excited about either pick. What do you think about Mykel Williams?
You pretty much covered it. I mean, another guy who's got size, strength, a former 5-star, just like Shemar Stewart. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, a lot of untapped potential. A 20-year-old. He's 20 years old on draft night. That's another thing that's a little bit sexy. Hey, you got so a couple years to work with this guy to really reach his potential before his rookie contract is up. There's some bending problems I had with Mykel, but I like Mykel. If he's there at 29, he's definitely in the back of my mind. He scares me a little bit, just like Shemar does. A little bit more, though. And another thing with Shemar and Mykel that wasn't brought up by either of us yet is he didn't play 5 technique the whole entire time. Or that wide 9 that you see Donovan Ezraku playing as a stand-up outside linebacker kind of thing. They played 4 technique, sometimes 3 technique, 4-eye, and when you're slided in, the sack production can be affected by that. Let's move on to running back night 1. This is the player I'm super excited about. Went to a school that I don't like. I'm gonna go with TreVeyon Henderson, the running back from Ohio State.
Wow.
You give Jaydon that speed in that backfield, things can happen with that speed. Not just that. TreVeyon Henderson is another guy that is great off the field in the locker room. Plays his butt off.
Honestly, real quick, everybody we've talked about tonight, high character guys, because I think that's
Mykel
very
too.
important.
Yes, Mykel is also very good locker room guy. Kirby Smart was very good for their locker room. Another thing about TreVeyon Henderson that is great, we want to keep Jaydon clean on third down. TreVeyon Henderson's coming up and will knock your socks off your feet if you're coming anywhere near his QB.
Probably the best pass pro in the draft.
Absolutely. He's not a 20 carry, 25 carry guy. He would be like our Jahmyr Gibbs, but better in pass pro. He can take the distance. If you've watched the game against Oregon, Brian Robinson is just not going to cut it. I mean, this guy all season long, everybody, even week 1. I hate to be I told you so. Week 1, get this guy off the field. He had these wide rushing lanes from Jaydon run the read option. He can't get his legs moving if he's hit behind the line of scrimmage. We need a guy to make somebody miss. Make somebody miss. And at the end of the season, Robinson wasn't even running hard.
When you have such a dynamic run threat at quarterback, like we do now in Jaydon, look around the league. Teams with quarterbacks like that are consistently the best rushing teams in the league. We see it every year. How good has the Ravens running game been forever? Not Lamar, right? Just their running game with their running backs. They're always one of the best in the league. It's the same thing with the Eagles. We see it all the time. When you have going all the way back to RG3, right, in 2012, when you have a dynamic runner at the quarterback position, it opens up so much for you in the run game. It is unfathomable that we cannot figure it out and that we didn't this past year, right? That needs to be fixed. Sure, there's blame to go around. A lot of people say it's the offensive line. It's not B-Rob's fault. It's Cliff. It's not B-Rob. Sure, blame whatever you want. We got to figure it out because there's no excuse. Everybody else in the league is way better seemingly rushing the football than we are. And it just doesn't seem like we have any excuse. So I'm all good with that. I love B-Rob. You know, he's been a good player for us. He really has. Now, granted, it's not a lot to choose from, but certainly one of the best picks of the Rivera era, for sure. But, you know, with running backs, we see it all the time, right? They wear out quickly. You know, we've seen B-Rob deal with injuries, snagging injuries here and there for the better part of 2 years now. I think it's just kind of one of those things that you kind of got to keep fresh blood at that position. You know, if you look at the stats from last year, B-Rob had the lowest yards per carry average of any of our running backs. Now, granted, some of these guys had a much smaller sample size, right? But, you know, your running back getting the most carries shouldn't be the least effective when he gets them. So definitely think we could use some fresh blood at that position. And TreVeyon Henderson was actually my pick as well. I think that'd be a slam dunk.
And actually, if that's your pick, we should bring up, people are probably pounding the table for Omarion Hampton. I am one of the biggest Omarion Hampton fans since January. And the kid almost committed to Michigan. All right, I'm going to throw that out there. That's why I know a lot about him.
This is not a Michigan podcast. I repeat,
not.
This is not a Michigan podcast.
Sorry. The reason I didn't pick Hampton is because I really think he's not going to be there. The teams are very high on him. I mean, he's an every down player, and he's a lead back.
All right, moving down the list here. Let's stay on the offensive side of the ball. Let's talk about wide receiver.
This one's tough because there's guys I like in the late first. There's not guys I like in the top 20, but once you get to the back end of that first round, there's a guy that's like, hey, I'm going to take that guy, and I know I'm going to get a player. And I feel comfortable about wide receivers at the end of the first.
All right, my pick at 29, if it's receiver, Emeka Egbuka. Okay, this is a guy, is he the flashiest receiver prospect in this draft? Absolutely not. But is he the safest? Probably. You know what you're getting from day one with him. He is everything that this coaching staff looks for in receivers from what we saw last year. He's like the dream version of that. Guys that work their tail off, that are going to give everything on every play, whether they're running routes, blocking, getting the ball, they're the first read, or the fourth read on a play.
Great blocker.
He's a great blocker. He's a great team guy. We keep talking about the character with all these guys. He's a great character guy, right? And I think he would fill a legitimate role in this passing game, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I get that we got Deebo Samuel, and I think he's, you know, can be a good player for us. But to me, Deebo isn't a slot guy. And when you're talking about Egbuka, you're talking about a guy that's probably going to be predominantly a slot guy, in my opinion. I don't think that him and Deebo clash in some kind of way. Like, I don't think of Deebo as just a slot receiver. He's like a true gadget or weapon. Like, he's going to be everywhere, right? He's going to be in the backfield. He's going to be in motion. He's going to be out wide. Like, they're going to find different spots to get Deebo the ball. He's not going to be a traditional lineup in the slot every play guy, like I think Egbuka could be, right? So I think that there is a world where if you're going receiver early, obviously then you're expecting this guy to contribute from day one, where Egbuka can come in and really play a key role on this offense. And suddenly, by the way, this passing game looks entirely differently from just a year ago, right? When now we're thinking about, you know, you talk about building support around Jaden Daniels, and we saw what they've done with Tunsil and Deebo Samuel, building around Jaden. You got Terry, Deebo, and Egbuka. Now we're talking about a really, really dynamic group of receivers, something to get really, really excited about. I don't think he's ever going to be a number one guy. I don't think he's going to ever overwhelm anybody with his athleticism or anything like that. But he's a rock solid football player, Scott McCloughan, football player. And I can just see it working and him being a good fit on this team specifically.
I like Emeka's fit with us. You got Terry that could take the top off. You got Debo as your gadget guy, throwing your screens and stuff. Emeka can be your safety blanket for Jaydon when he's in trouble. He's a sure-handed, high-floor player.
Absolutely.
I like his fit, and sorry to cut you off, Joe. He was my pick.
Really?
He was my pick. We're all
Look at
over
this
Ohio
Michigan
State
guy
tonight.
loading the board with Ohio State Buckeyes.
And I'm still going to talk about somebody that, and I was going to go with this other guy, but I really don't think. I mean, he could be there for sure, but I just wanted to keep this really realistic, guys that we could really see be there. And I'm going to go with Matthew Golden. My biggest thing with receiver is that you know how to get in and out of your breaks, you can create separation, and you have good hands. Golden checks that. I mean, running 4.3, well, no, he actually ran 4.29 at the combine, which shocked us. Doesn't show that on tape, which is concerning. You want to see that speed translate to the tape, and he's not slow or anything. We were watching the combine together, we were expecting low 4.4s probably, and he ran that it was a 4.30, then unofficial, then they made it official, it was a 4.29. Him and Terry can really take the top off the defense. But also
Sure.
Matthew Golden is very good at working short, intermediate routes, which we need.
I like Golden for sure, obviously. Question for you, though. Do you have any concern that Texas seemed to kind of run through Bond, at least initially in the first half of the season? Didn't it kind of seem like Golden didn't become a focal point until later in the year? Like any red flags with that or anything for you?
I don't think they knew what they had with Golden.
Why not?
Because Bond was this transfer from Alabama, and he was known as this big speedster. And then at the beginning of the season, Texas struggled a little bit in close games.
Yeah, they were miserable to watch at times. Just to be.
And at the end of the season, I think they were they realized hey, we got a cat over here that can play ball. We got Bond jumping up in the air on a slant route with nobody around him, dropping the ball consistently. By the way, Bond talking about he was going to break the 40 record. How about you run faster than your teammate? Huh?
Yeah,
huh? What are we doing?
That was a tough one.
Out here running 4.41.
Not the combine hype you're looking for. We're going to switch to the other side of the ball now. Let's talk about cornerbacks. All right, guys. My pick at 29 at corner. This is a little bit of a spicy one.
Wow.
Some may
I'm
call
excited about this one.
Some may call it a bit of a reach.
God, yeah, it's.
But this is just one of my guys. This is one of my guys that I'd be fired up to get at 29. The player, Shavon Revel Jr., East Carolina. So this is a guy I'm sure everybody knows at this point, missed a lot of the year this past year with injury. Folks, honestly, if he doesn't get hurt, I believe that we're talking about him as a top 10 type player. I think that's the upside here. And to be able, the only reason that the Commanders even have a chance at getting a player like this is because he got hurt, right? So obviously, we can't see the medicals, right? We don't know what those are. But if the medicals check out, if he's on track to return to full health, I love this guy. You want to talk about a fit in our defense too? This is a pretty good corner draft in my opinion, but weirdly there's not a ton of guys that are super man guys. There seems to be a lot of decent zone guys, more zone guys than man guys. It's harder and harder to find these man guys, honestly, with the way college football is going. And he's one of them that I think would be very, very comfortable in man, very, very comfortable in press, run that style that I think Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. ultimately wish their defense could look like. I think they've been a little bit limited based on our personnel in year one in terms of the different kind of coverages they could run and stuff like that. In a perfect world, I think they'd rather have that, Cowboys of the last 5 years, that man, aggressive, getting takeaways, getting after the quarterback, that style of defense. And I just think he would be a dream, assuming the medicals check out. I think that this is a potential Pro Bowl cornerback if he reaches his ceiling. I love Shavon Revel Jr.
I really like that pick also. I like the player that I have, and in people are going to think this is also a little bit of a reach, but it's been talked about on Twitter today that this guy is going to go way earlier than people think because of how steady he was at Ole Miss. I'm going to go with Trey Amos.
I knew you were gonna pick him.
He just a guy he can play in zone or man, and he's so steady. He's reliable, which we did not have last year. I mean, nobody was reliable. I mean, don't say nobody. Sanders still was very good, very good. But opposite him, before Lattimore, it was rough, folks, as everybody knows. So I think a guy like him would be a super solid pick, safe pick.
You want to talk about a guy that can make plays on the football. When I think of him breaking up passes. It feels like he's doing it every other play. It was crazy how frequently he was getting a hand on the ball.
He's not as exciting as the other players we've been talking about, but somebody that I think starts right away if Sanders still goes in the slot opposite Lattimore.
Our last position, our fifth position here, a little bit open-ended. We're going to go offensive line. So we'll leave it as kind of dealer's choice, whether you want to kind of go the tackle or guard angle. I think you could make a case for both with the way that our offensive line is a little bit in flux right now. We've got Brandon Coleman hypothetically penciled in as our starting right tackle. And I think everybody kind of would be comfortable with that. But I don't think that's necessarily set in stone either, if the right opportunity presents itself. So I think tackle and guard are both in play as potential areas that could be targeted in this draft. We'll just call it offensive line and let it be dealer's choice. My dream pick at 29, if we're going offensive line, similar kind of theme to what I did with corner, right? I'm going with another hurt guy in Josh Simmons, right? Another guy that I think is a top 10 player, if not for injury. Literally. I think him and Revel literally have kind of a similar storyline going with where had they not gotten hurt, there would be no chance that the Commanders could get this player. I like guys like that. I'm a big on upside. And I just think Josh Simmons may end up being the best tackle in this class. He's not a mauler in the run game. That's not his vibe, but I do think he's one of the most athletic tackles in this draft. I think he's got a high floor as a pass protector. My almost favorite part about it is how it can foundationally change the look of an offensive line very quickly. When you then have Tunsil on the left, let's say Simmons on the right, if he's ready to play, right? Now you've got Coleman as a player that you can kick inside to guard, who I think would be a phenomenal guard. The dream size, I think Coleman could really flourish at guard. You're talking about a future with him, at left guard, right? Biotish at center, and then Cosme when he comes at right guard. One of the best offensive lines in the league. I mean, that offensive line really, really gets me excited. And again, I just love that you're taking advantage of just kind of the market and the way that these teams view these guys that got injured and getting potentially a top 10 player at 29. So I'm going Josh Simmons, Ohio State.
I like Josh Simmons. I got a little bit of pushback with him, and it's not on the field. It's a little bit off. And on the field, too, I'm worried about his anchor. But I'm going to go with a guy I don't think you thought I was going to pick. I'm going to go with Gray Zabel from North Dakota State.
Okay. I didn't.
And here's
I would not
why.
have guessed that.
Adam Peters has picked a ton of players from the Senior Bowl. You want to talk about a guy that absolutely dominated the Senior Bowl. Hey, put me in again. Had his hand raised. In and out, in and out. Not scared. Wasn't scared of Shemar Stewart or any of the big edges that were there. D-line was loaded at the Senior Bowl. Gray Zabel didn't care. Put me in. tackle, guard, center. I'm there. I was fired up. I was on my feet watching the Senior Bowl because of him. He's a guy that can play center or guard. I don't think he's a tackle in the NFL with the short arms.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible.
It's not talked about enough that we might be needing a center here in the near future, and a guy that can play left guard for us this year. I mean, he's stout. He plays hard. Another good locker room guy. I'm going Gray Zabel.
Yeah, I think Gray Zabel is a great player. I don't necessarily see a great fit right now for the current kind of state of our offensive line. I think Gray Zabel's best.
Not if he plays guard, left guard.
I think his best pro position is going to be center. I think
agree.
that's where he'll be at his best in the NFL.
I agree.
Guard, I'm worried that he might be a little, I don't know. He seems kind of a little undersized. With the arms scare me. The arms scare me. I know guard, it won't be as big a deal certainly as tackle, but yeah, no, I think he's a good player. Another Scott McLuhan football player for sure.
And then Peters talks about best player available, and we saw last year after the Jayden pick, all those picks were really like the guys were a little bit older and had a lot of experience. And he fits the bill, honestly. Has a super high RAS score, which is what we drafted a lot last year, too. Especially in the later rounds, but this is early rounds. But our first round pick last year, everybody, was Jaden Daniels, so you can't really go off that. I just like him. I mean, he fits the bill. I mean, he's a plug-and-play guy. I don't know. I was going to go Kelvin Banks, but I don't know if Kelvin Banks is going to make it. I love Kelvin Banks. I just see him as a top 25 guy. He would be awesome at left guard. Kelvin? Oh, man.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Wow.
Let's keep rolling.
Day 2 guys, or just day 2 guys?
Yeah. Let's just talk about day 2 guys. Let's stick at offensive line real quick. And this is a guy that I thought there was honestly a chance you were going to bring up as your day 1 guy. The name is Tate Ratledge. Get to know the name, folks. You want to talk about a dog.
Dog. Oh, my God. I love this
Hat on a hat.
God. I think he should go top 40, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I mean, he's
honestly,
high on my board.
It's a bit of a stretch. I'd be shocked if he doesn't go in the top 50. But, you never know, right? We're talking about second-round guys. They could go anywhere. I mean, you're talking about an absolute dog in the run game. Somebody that's going to show up with their lunch pail every day. A Dan Quinn kind of guy, for sure. Somebody that I think could help our run game immediately. He's one of those guys where it's like, as soon as you draft him, you're like, we've got a 10-year starter. Like, set it and forget it. This guy's going to start at guard for us for 10 years.
This is a Philly and Baltimore kind of guy.
100%.
Super big, super strong, and I'm a big believer in size on the offensive line. Me and you have talked about it a lot. Baltimore does it. Philly does it. That's what they believe in. Athletic, big guys that are strong. That's why Philly picked up Becton. They were like, we're going to move you inside the guard. You're not doing well at tackle. And then look at the season he had. And with Tate, it's when you turn his film on, he loses at the point of attack sometimes. And he's so strong, he gets a hold of you, he just sinks and you're done. And we really need that. I mean, Allegretti is he's a second string guy. We have to replace that if we want to be better in the run game.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a huge upgrade.
Yeah.
Going to Ratledge. I'm going to be honest, if we're going back to your first round pick, like if you're talking about Zabel as a guard, call me crazy, but I'd literally rather have Ratledge than Gray Zabel. If we're talking guard.
I wouldn't fight that.
Like, Ratledge is just such a dog. And don't forget, we're talking about Georgia. We're talking about the SEC. We're not talking about North Dakota State. A Sunday kick against the Jackrabbits up in Sioux Falls, Like, we're talking about SEC ball. Hat on a hat every week.
Hat on a hat.
I love Tate Ratledge. That'd be my dream day 2
Yes.
pick. And you never know if we trade back, right? Let's say we trade back out of the first, we get a mid to early second round pick. That would make me very, very excited. Who you got on night 2 in the offensive line?
I got a guy, I can't pronounce his name again. He's one of my boys since day one. Don't really talk about him a lot. I just call him Arizona guard. Jonah Savaiinaea. Another big guy. 6'5", 336, high RAS score.
Huge.
He's super athletic. He's super young. He's 21 years old on draft day. A guy that can get downhill in the run game, and he's like a wrecking ball. I mean, he's plug and play at the guard position. It's kind of funny we haven't brought up a lot of tackles here, but the guards are just a little bit more trustworthy and more reliable.
We've got an official pronunciation here. Savaiinaea. According to Dane Brugler's The Beast. Shout out Dane Brugler. Best in the biz.
Best in the biz. So, yeah, I mean, 6'5", 336, like I said. He's super athletic, and that's what they like. And, took Brandon Coleman last year because of the arm length and the athleticism. Doesn't Jonah have long arms? He's just not a...
Yeah, he almost 34,
I'm pretty
33.
Yeah.
33 and 7/8.
Yeah. I was about to say. So
some people think he might be able to stick a tackle.
As a right tackle, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say too.
But I would... Dude, let him be a Pro Bowl guard. Let's
let him be a
happen.
guard and just eat. Just absolutely
eat.
No, I would love that pick, especially in the second round. Anytime you're getting a starter, really a plug and play starter, and honestly, like the more we're talking about it, it's like I almost now want us to draft a guard in the second round now. Like something you were right. Just feel safe about drafting a guard. Like what you're getting.
Yeah,
they're undervalued. So you're getting a day 1 starter in the second round that I think really, really helps your team a lot. Really helps with your run game. I love both those picks. All right, I'll let you pick the position next.
You want to go wide receiver?
Sure.
I am going to go with a guy that has really risen up draft boards lately. And that's Mykel Williams. I think we need a guy who can really take the top off the defense, help Terry out a little bit. He's really good on his releases. He's got a release package that can really separate from that corner. He had a really good Senior Bowl, and that's when the talks really started to pump up with him. Yeah, I mean, he's 6 foot, 186. He's not that big, and we need a bigger receiver. I understand that, but I don't think a bigger with Kingsbury, I don't think he really needs a big receiver. I think he wants a guy that can get yards after the catch, can really take it to the house. And that's what Mykel Williams can do. Mykel Williams is very explosive. He has super big time potential. So I really like Mykel Williams in the second round. It could be a little early for him, but everybody keeps talking about him, and I think he's going to go second, late second, early third.
Yeah, I like Mykel Williams. I'm going to be honest, the size just does not excite me for whatever reason. Like, that's really just like what kind of bothers me about him. But I get he's super dynamic with the ball in his hands. Really fast, obviously. Definitely a guy that could take it to the house and, would be a dynamic player. Me personally, a guy that I think gives me just gives you a little more juice, a little sexier. I'm going Jayden Higgins, Iowa State. This guy has that size that you're talking about. Had a phenomenal Senior Bowl. For a guy his size, you don't always know what you're going to get with the route running and the feet. I think he's got some of the cleanest feet for a guy his size that I've seen. I told Collin early on when I was watching film on him, he reminds me of Drake London. The way he can move at that size, right? Again, a bigger guy that's claim to fame is his feet. Jayden Higgins, an absolute monster, obviously, with his hands. Doesn't drop anything. Just an absolute big target stud. I love Jayden Higgins. I'd be so excited to get him in the second round. He has that size that you're looking for. Again, I'm not convinced that that's like a necessity for Cliff Kingsbury or something that they necessarily want or need or anything like that. I just like the player a lot. I think he's a stud, and he would really get me excited.
Do you think he might be an early second-round pick? Maybe possible first?
Sure.
I like him a lot. The reason I did not pick him was because I thought he wasn't going to be there. Wouldn't be there for us.
Yeah.
I really like Jayden Higgins. If we got Jayden Higgins at 61, backflip off the new couch. Backflip. Really break it in.
Yeah. Dane's got him as his 45th player. Obviously we're at 61, so that's 16 spots away. But, when you're talking about second round, like we said, who knows?
Yeah.
You're right, though. He is a little bit higher than 61. Would feel way more comfortable, if we had a trade back kind of thing and an earlier second round pick. But, I think there's a scenario where that could happen.
With the running backs, we're going to stay at the same school. Quinshon Judkins from Ohio State, if we take an edge in the first and we want to get that star potential running back in the second, he's my guy. Just plays so hard. He has a lot of power and ran a low 4.4 in the 40. I think he can catch the ball in the backfield, not as good as Henderson, but he can do it. Not as explosive as Henderson, but not his style. He runs into guys a little bit too much and not around him. It's like he craves contact a little bit too much. So he's got to work on that. He's pretty solid in pass pro, not like Henderson, obviously. Bigger back at 6 foot, 219. I mean, he's a first, second, third down guy, and which I think we need pretty badly. It's not talked about enough how we need a running back. I think he would fit perfectly in Cliff's system. More of a gap scheme, I would say.
Yeah, I think you keep bringing up Henderson. I get it. They're at the same school, but completely different style of player. He's definitely more of your grinder. You compared Henderson earlier to Jahmyr Gibbs. Judkins is like the David Montgomery. Like that's the similar dynamic.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
So,
yep.
But I like the player. I like him a lot. He loves contact. You weren't kidding. This guy is attracted to contact. It's like a magnet.
Thunder and lightning, pretty much. That's what they were. That's what Gibbs and Montgomery were. We just need a game changer in the backfield with Jaydon.
See, this one was actually hard for me because I get that it's a great, running back draft and it's really deep and there's a lot of guys. I get that. But for whatever reason, I was looking at these day 2 guys and just none of them were really getting me super, super excited. TreVeyon Henderson, I think, is probably a first round pick at this point. So he's not in the conversation here. We obviously talked about him in the first round. After that, I feel like you're almost reaching a little bit in the second round.
Really?
A guy I do like, but I don't know if he's a great fit for us. I think he's just a really good running back, is Kaleb Johnson. He's someone that I think has been falling down boards a bit. I think he's a really good football player. Obviously, he's more of that zone one-cut kind of running back.
Yeah.
I do think Cliff's offense isn't one or the other. I think he's very Cliff does a lot of different things. When you hear these draft insiders and these analysts and they talk about, oh, this guy would be a great fit for a gap scheme, man scheme. This guy would be a great fit for a zone scheme. The Commanders aren't one or the other, like a lot of teams are, right? We're not like a classic Shanahan system that's going to be predominantly zone. I think Cliff really, really is very creative in the run game and is going to give a lot of different looks. So all of that to say, I don't think you can rule out a guy that's everyone's saying is a zone guy just because we don't have a Shanahan disciple as our OC. But I think he's a really good football player. I don't know if I would love the pick in the second round going him, just because I do think that there's just guys at other positions that I like more for whatever reason. But at the same time, it would really hurt to leave this draft without a running back that's going to contribute. But I like Judkins. I like Kaleb Johnson. So
I thought yours was going to be Dylan Sampson.
No, I like him. But it's doesn't second round just feel a little bit early for him? I feel like you're reaching a bit there for Sampson. I do like Sampson. And you never know. You never know. I do like him, but it just at 61, I'm like, I just didn't know if I was getting good enough value there.
Cornerbacks for a second round. Oh,
yeah, we got cornerback. And edge.
You know who mine's gonna be. This guy. People are gonna be like, he's a third, fourth round corner? I don't want to hear it. I am pounding the table for my boy here. Joseph, you know who it is. Kansas State. Yeah. Jacob Parrish. Oh my, little light, 5'10", 200 pounds. This guy just plays so hard and just, I think he's great, man. He might be 5'10", but I think he can play outside corner. He can play nickel.
Feisty.
He's 21, yeah, very feisty. He can dip around blocks, kind of like a Donovan Ezraku, but on the edge. Just dips under blocks and just makes a tap, kind of like Sanders still a little bit. You see with these guys that are a little bit shorter, they're better in the run game because they can dip blocks. They can, they can turn a little bit easier than these 6'1" and up corners. They're like, players on stilts. So they're more of a stack and shed kind of guy, and they don't like to, when you're a corner, corners don't like to stack and shed. They really don't. I think Jacob Parrish is a very good man guy. I think he'd be great against defending the run, which they care about with corners. Lattimore is very physical in the run game. Obviously, everybody knows Sanders still is. He's great on the edge or the outside. People think he's going to be a nickel defender, but I really think he can play outside. I mean, he's just a very good football player. Yeah, I'm going to go Jacob Parrish.
Yeah, he definitely has that temperament on the field of a guy you think would be a Dan Quinn kind of guy. Something I read about him, I think we talked about this off mic at one point, is I did read somewhere kind of a random thing about Parrish is that he didn't play special teams at all at Kansas State.
Yes.
I don't think that the Commanders will love,
Yeah.
You look at Mikey, right? Look what he did at Michigan, right? He didn't leave the field, Hell, he was even playing receiver on offense. I feel like they like guys that aren't afraid to do the dirty work on special teams, and for whatever reason he didn't. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but in theory, I would like the fit. My guy I'm going with here, I mean, I feel like I'm a broken record because I keep saying the same thing for all of these guys. I love value, and I think this is another player where you're getting a great value. Benjamin Morrison, Notre Dame. I think this guy, again, if you look at his tape before he got hurt, you're talking about a guy that I think was a first-round pick. It's not like Revel, and Simmons was talked about earlier, where those guys I think could be top 10 guys if they hadn't gotten hurt. Morrison, I don't know if we're not talking about that high, right? But there were times at the beginning of the season, right, where you were looking at projections and he was in that mid first round pick conversation, really, really banged up. But you're talking about a guy that's only 21 years old, right? We're not talking about an old guy with a lot of wear and tear and you're all that concerned with his durability. I think you're getting great value if teams are scared off. Again, if the medicals check out and the only reason he's dropping is because of this injury and people just worried that he's not going to fully recover, you have the potential in a second-round pick to get a player that might be a first-round caliber player. Again, a scheme versatile guy, right? Can play man or zone. Just a really, really good football player. Benjamin Morrison, Notre Dame.
Yeah, I really like him. His hips are so fluid. Mm-hmm. I saw somebody tweet the other day, his hips are so fluid, that's why their hips are bad. Just shredded through the cartilage.
Uh-huh.
And which is completely right. I mean, he's very sticky. He just had a really, really just weird, bad year. Even before his injury, he was like, I remember texting you. I was like, hey, how's Morrison looking? Because I'm watching Michigan, you're watching Notre Dame, checking in on our guys. How's he looking? You're like, hey, he looks okay.
I don't know that it's been talked about a lot, but I would not be surprised if he was playing through injury even before he was officially out.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like when he was on the field earlier.
It's weird to say this, but it's kind of like, I hope he was.
Yeah. I mean, because you want to talk, like, his 2023 tape, that's first-round tape all day. So, yeah, I think in a second-round pick, you can't do much better than that.
Do you want to go? You want to
All
go
right,
day
last-
3?
No, we got edge still.
Oh wow!
Edge day 2.
My dream pick at edge at 61 is a guy we talked about a lot, and he's from Ohio State. Also, is JT Tuimoloau.
Tuimoloau.
It's almost like this is like the first round guys we talked about, but the safe version of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think if we take Henderson in the first round and we get JT in the second, I'm like, wow, we got 2 good football players. JT is going to be able to defend in the run. He's going to be able to get after the passer, but not as the potential of Mykel and Shemar.
Sure.
But you know what you're going to get with JT.
He's going to contribute. He's going to get sacks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My point was, I don't think it's going to be over 10. I think you're going to be looking in between anything between 6.5 to 10.
Right.
10 absolute max, which is fine. I mean, if he's stopping the run, I love this guy. I mean, another 21-year-old, almost 22 pretty much. 6'5", 269. He's just super, super solid. And I don't really have too many questions about him. He makes big plays randomly, has a ton of interceptions. That Penn State game 2 years ago, I don't know if people remember. It's like, hey, he just picked off another pass. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, makes splash plays. Another guy that had a hot, like, wasn't he another big recruit when he first came out?
Yeah, I think he was a top 3. He was a top 3 guy coming out for sure. He was a 5-star.
Yeah, he's just another guy, and we've talked about a few tonight that are just really, really high floor guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what you're getting with JT. He, worst case scenario, is going to be somebody that helps you in a rotation defending the run. You know, he's never probably going to be the splashiest pass rusher. He's going to give you something like we're talking about. He'll have single-digit sacks, but the high floor as a run defender, I think, is something that you love in the second round. It's almost like he's like how we were talking about these guards would be just such safe picks in the second round. He's like a really safe edge pick in the second round. You know?
Plays really low, too. Good leverage. Really good with his hands, stack and shed.
Mm-hmm. And if you watch the tape, I know there's a lot of Jack Sawyer fans out there, but you could tell that JT, he was doubled a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like he was a point of emphasis. You can tell in the offensive game plans and teams they were going up against. I don't think it'll be like that in the NFL, right? So who knows? We could see a even better version of JT at the pro level where he's facing less doubles.
If we take Jack Sawyer at 61, I might turn the TV off. I'm not a believer in him at all. I think he's extremely stiff. He can't bend. He's slow.
Finally.
Yeah, here comes my hate. Here comes
the
my
Michigan
hate.
guy.
I had 3 Ohio State guys, Joe.
You're an embarrassment to your fan base. You're going to get roasted on the boards.
They're going to hate me on the board, yeah.
The boards
They're
are
not
coming
gonna be
after
happy.
you.
No.
Yeah, you're going to get
Absolutely
cut from the boards. No, but I would love JT. Football
By the way,
player.
speaking of Jack Sawyer, really quick, there's some steam that he's going to fall to the 4th.
I could see it. I mean,
teams are not big on him. Let's hear your edge guy on day 2.
So I had JT as well.
I know. We both love JT.
Yeah, we love JT. That's just such an easy day 2 pick.
If you had to talk about another guy that you like at 61, who would it be, though?
You know, I wouldn't hate at this point Nic Scourton.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I would take Nic Scourton at this. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, now.
If he fell.
Yeah, 29 feels a little rich for me. I know some mocks. I know Ben Standig. Shout out Ben Standig, another one of the best in the game. In one of his earlier mocks, he had us taking Scourton. I know that's a name he's brought up multiple times at this point. At 29, I think personally that's a little bit rich for me.
Yeah, a little rich.
I think he's more of a second round guy. I don't think it's impossible that he's on the board at 61. I think he could be there, and I would be very, very content with that. I think Scourton's a good player. Again, he's not. I don't think, in my opinion, I see the kind of traits where this is ever going to be a super dynamic pass rusher. But again, I think there's a high floor there. But yeah, I think I would go Scourton. It's my other option. Okay, let's talk
Talk day 3 running backs. I'll go.
day 3 running backs. Go.
I'm going to go with DJ Giddens from Kansas State. He's a little stiff in his movements, but I think he's so athletic. He's rocked up. He's got good size to him. I think he'll be good in the pass game. I think you can work with it for sure. He made big plays at Kansas State. He's very steady. I'm really worried about his movements, like I said, but yeah, just a guy I think first, second, third down player. He's pretty solid at pass pro. As we go a little bit later on running backs, I know it's a deep class, but there's not a lot of guys I love.
Sure.
It's a little bit weird. It's a little bit weird for sure.
Right.
But,
I think there's good talent in day 3, but you start to the guys that can contribute on all 3 downs start to kind of wane a little bit, right? It seems like it's more you're getting to these specialists that are good players for sure. But again, like we talked about earlier, right? How many teams around the league?
High RAS score for his position. I mean, he ran 4.43, 1.53, 10-yard split, almost a 40-inch vert, 10-10 broad. Those are excellent numbers. They like the athletic guys late, especially. So this is a guy I would really keep an eye out for.
Sure. My guy, we're talking about day 3 now, right? So at this point, I'm shooting for the stars. We're talking about the running back position. Give me somebody that can strike up the band. Give me a home run hitter, right? Lightning in a bottle. And there are multiple running backs that fit that criteria that I think will be available on day 3, but I'm going Jaydon Blue, Texas.
Wow.
Yeah. Can take it to the house at any point. He's not a guy that's going to be, your classic in between the tackles guy. He's going to be more of kind of your change of pace, factor out of the backfield, third downs, catch the ball. Little bit of a fumbling problem, but when we're talking about a running back that's in a rotation, I'm less worried about that. He'll get obviously pro coaching. But at this point, we're talking day 3. I'd rather go after guys that excite me and I think can be dynamic role players than kind of drafting these kind of, less sexy, running backs that are good, but it's like
I can see that. I'm just really worried about Blue's fumbling problems.
Yeah. I just
super light. I get it.
I'm saying you're not relying on him being a workhorse, right? Let's hope we can figure out the fumble situation with pro coaching. He's not going to be getting the ball as much as he was at Texas, at least not initially. You wouldn't think, but yeah, who knows? I just like that ability to score, And if you're talking day 3, what more can you really ask for? So yeah, that's my day 3 running back. Let's go to. I want to go to wide receiver, actually. My day 3 wide receiver is a guy, again, similar to my mentality with the running back. He's going to play a role for you. It's day 3. I don't think at this point you're getting a guy that you can feasibly rely on being your starter necessarily, if you think about that way. Opposite Terry, right? At this point, you're looking for guys that can that one are going to make your team, right? We're talking about day 3, and 2 can fill a role on your team. And to that end, Dante Thornton Jr., Tennessee. Another
local
guy, local boy, can take the absolute top off. And that's something that we've heard that we're looking for. And we're looking for
sure.
Speed.
Speed. That's why I want Mykel Williams.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a dynamic that we don't really have. I mean, Terry obviously has good speed, but we're talking about that true deep threat that can take the top off a defense. Dante Thornton Jr. is that. You look at the tape. I mean, he was one of the top receivers in the nation in yards per catch because his highlights are literally him just going bombs, these post routes and these 9 routes down the field. He is that dynamic speed deep threat for you. And the craziest part is when you talk about players like that, usually you think of them as smaller speedsters. Dante Thornton Jr. is 6'5". Like he's like a big receiver too somehow.
Yeah,
that just is absolutely blazer. So he's kind of a unique player. That's exciting. But I just can envision him having a role on this offense, right?
Yeah.
He provides something that I don't think we have. And again, for a day 3 guy, there's a path to making the team and playing time.
Yeah, I mean, he's considered, one-trick pony right now, but maybe we can work with him and work on his route running, and he could become a star. I mean, with the athletic ability he has and the size. But
sure.
Yeah, I love that pick, Joseph. I'm gonna go with a guy. I'm being real safe this episode. I'm going Pat Bryant from Illinois. I've always loved his tape, even in January when I watched him and I texted you about him. And you were like, yeah, I mean, he's okay. And I was like, it's late round. It's late round guy. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. Very good hands. He's not that athletic. I think he ran a 4.61. He's a jump ball guy. Be a reliable guy for Jaydon in the end zone, which we really didn't have last year, and that's why we had to go to Zach Ertz so much. Or Terry in the back of the end zone, catch him with his chest. But yeah, I love Pat Bryant, 22 years old on draft day. He's going to be your X receiver. Strong build. I love it in the late rounds.
Sure. And I don't think our wide receiver room right now is one where it's like, honestly, any of these guys in third round, they certainly have a chance of contributing, right? It's not like this super, super stacked wide receiver room at the moment. So yeah, I mean, he's a solid guy that, could have a chance as much as anybody. I was just looking it up just because I couldn't remember. Dante Thornton Jr.'s 40 time was a 4.30 at 6'4" and 5/8.
Yeah. I thought it was 4.35, but yeah, it's 4.30.
4.30.
I knew it was 4.3s. Yeah.
It's insane.
That's insane.
Yeah.
God, that's DK Metcalf.
Yeah. Literally.
And to be honest, DK was not the best route runner coming out either. He was big, stompy.
Yeah. Just a big horse, yeah.
I love that.
Cool, you pick the next
you want to do next?
I pick receiver, you pick the next one.
Why don't we go edge?
Back to edge. Cool.
This is where it starts to get like you're looking for a guy that could pop. For edge, you got to find a guy that can really get some snaps for you. It can't be a developmental guy for you. And that's why I think if we can grab this guy in the 4th round, if he's still there, God, it's going to be really risky, is Ashton Gillotte, 6'3", 275. He tested really, really well. I don't know if the scouts were expecting him to test that well, but he has a high RS score, which we love in later rounds, especially at edge with Baptiste last year in the 7th that we took. But he plays hard. He sets a good edge. He's not special with his talent. He's not dipping off the edge, coming up, and, going to be a high sack guy. I expect him to be a 4 to 7 kind of sack guy. I mean, could be more. I mean, he plays really hard. He's very physical. He gives it his all every down, and I think that's a Dan Quinn guy, especially with this athleticism to work with.
Yeah. My only problem is it feels like you're cheating a little bit because I don't know that he's going to get to day 3. I think
yes, I agree with that.
I could very easily see him being a night 2 guy. Day 3, trying to pick guys that I feel pretty confident will be there. With that being said, I'm gonna go with Q Robinson, Alabama. So this is a guy that's been gaining a little bit of steam lately on Twitter. The big thing with him, not a lot of snaps. Barely played at Alabama. Now, granted, it's Alabama, right? Absolutely loaded year in and year out. Didn't get a lot of snaps, right? But that's why we're here on day 3. When he did play, there are flashes of really, really solid play. Can he put it together, over more snaps? Who knows? But worst case, we're talking about a guy who was a special teams player for Alabama, right? So what you're getting there. And again, you're talking about these day 3 guys. You want guys that can contribute for you on special teams. You do not have to worry about that for a second with Q Robinson. He did it at Alabama. Big special teams guy. And that's kind of, I see as his path to playing time, right? At least initially in making the team. We're talking about a developmental edge rusher that's contributing on special teams initially. And who knows? Who knows what he could be? Like I was saying, there's flashes of his tape. There's just not enough of it, right? So it's a small sample size. It's hard to trust. Hard to know what you're getting with him as a edge rusher. But he's at least contributing for you on special teams. And I'm pretty confident that he'll be a day 3 guy.
All right, I think we should head over to offensive line.
Cool.
I'm going to go with a guy. It's right around that same range, and I hope he's going to be in the 4th, but I don't think he is. Anthony Belton from NC State.
You keep cheating and grabbing these like 3rd-round fringe kind of guys.
You know what? I won't cheat anymore because I also like Logan Brown from Kansas.
Okay, there we go. Dig a little deeper. There we go.
Yeah. I really wanted to talk about Belton. That's why.
You can.
You know he's my boy. I won't.
I like Belton too.
But
Belton, I think, was Belton at Topgolf? Shout out one loud.
We did have him in.
Yeah, I think he was part of the Topgolf crew.
Honestly, wouldn't even hate him at 61. I know it's a little high, but
yeah, no, I mean,
if they're drafting him at 61, Senior Bowl too. Another Senior Bowl guy. They like Senior Bowl guys.
Right. If they're drafting him at 61, clearly they have a vision for him. I would not mind that at all. I think he's a good player. Good Senior Bowl. Yeah. Anyways, go ahead.
I'm gonna go with an older guy, Logan Brown, from the state of Michigan. He's 6'6", 315. He's a former 5-star. I think he's a 6th year or 5th year player for Kansas. Transferred here and there. He was at Wisconsin before that. A guy that tested well. His tape is he will punch you in the mouth a little bit, which I love. Late. The guy that's athletic, something you can work with. And like Q's tape is, like you said, is a lot of flashes. Don't know why he didn't play more. But honestly, that Alabama team under Kalen was a disaster, kind of low-key. But yeah, I mean, a guy that can come in, maybe compete for reps at right tackle. If they were comfortable with him at right tackle, you could slide Coleman in at guard, right or left, because Cosme's hurt. He's very fluid. I don't know if I said this, his high RAS score as well. I've been talking about that all night because it was a thing last draft for sure. That and team captains and good character. He's a developmental guy, but we're on day 3. So
my day 3 guy, offensive line, is another developmental guy. When you're looking at day 3, at this point, you're just looking for guys that, especially on the offensive line, that could be something, right? You're not drafting guys necessarily that you envision as starters anytime soon. Do they have traits that you could develop and maybe become something, right? With that being said, I'm going Carson Vinson, a 6'7" gem. How many guys on day 3 actually have legit tackle upside? You don't get a lot of tackles on day 3, folks. Like, it's just not a thing, right? Most guys that have the potential to be a tackle, they go early, right? Vincent, I think, will be there on day 3 because he is, coming from Alabama A&M. But boy, does the size just make you drool, right? 6'7", 314. Did not shy away from the competition at the Senior Bowl. Definitely a development guy. He is not somebody that can play right now at the NFL level. A lot of fine tuning that's going to need to happen. A lot of NFL coaching that'll need to happen. But God, does the upside make you drool there? 34.5-inch arms, 84 3/8 wingspan, 10 1/4 hand. I mean, it's definitely the kind of size that gets you excited. Can you develop him? Can he turn into something? Who knows? But again, in the 3rd day, right? We're talking rounds 4 through 7. It's rare to find guys that actually, you could envision eventually being an NFL tackle. And he's a guy that could definitely do that. So
I didn't realize this, but a 3-cone is 7.51.
That's great time
6'7".
for 6'7".
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very good time.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's my guy. That's my round. Day 3 guy, offensive line.
I like it.
Last but not least, we have cornerbacks.
Corners,
Day 3 corners.
I'm excited about somebody. This is a guy that's been linked to us a lot. And I think he will go day 3. Quincy Riley from Louisville. Absolute dog. 2023 Tate was better. 2024 was not terrible. But you want to talk about a guy you can just throw out there on the end. Leave him in man coverage and just let him fight. He'll come up and hit you in the run game. He's very athletic. He's not the biggest. He's fine. His height is fine, but he's a little bit on the smaller side from 185 to 190. There's going to be like strength concerns about him, but I really like him or his fit being aggressive outside corner, fitting in our system. So, yeah, I'm going to go Quincy Riley.
Yeah, I think he's another fringe day 2 guy, in my opinion. Like, I definitely could see him going in the 3rd.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely somebody that's been linked to us a lot. And a dog, fits that Dan Quinn kind of mold of the kind of football players they want for sure. My guy I'm going with, I think, is a little more firmly in day 3. And that's Denzel Burke, another Buckeye from Ohio State. Wow. So Denzel Burke is a guy that never really put it all together, right? He's a guy that came in with a ton of hype. He literally was a 4-year starter at Ohio State, right? He's playing as a freshman at Ohio State, right? 2-3 years ago, he was one of those names that was being talked about as a future kind of first-round guy if he lives up to the hype, right? He just never kind of put it all together. But on day 3, I'm getting a 4-year starter from a national championship team. Sure. Give me that on day 3. I think, again, the floor is pretty high with Denzel Burke. He's that, again, he never put it all together, right? He doesn't have, anything about his tape or his traits where it just, really jumps out at you that's like, oh, my gosh, that's impressive. But I think there's a high floor there. I think he's a good football player. You don't start for 4 years at Ohio State if you're not. And who knows, right? This is a player that, once he gets that coaching at the pro level, we may see a better player and see him take that next step that he never really took at Ohio State. He never lived up to that hype. He was so good as a freshman and as a sophomore, and everybody was just expecting him to be like, wow, he's a starter already. He's so good. Think about what he's going to be 3 years from now. And he just never really, got better. You know what I'm saying, Collin? Didn't it seem like there was just so much hype around Denzel Burke
every single year? It was Denzel Burke. They got Denzel Burke on the outside, and it was like, Denzel Burke is still getting burnt. All right? Can we stop talking about Denzel Burke?
Yeah. Yeah, so definitely some stuff to clean up because you do see that on tape. Him get beat. Yeah,
Oregon
it's just
game.
kind of weird.
Oregon game
for sure.
Turn the Oregon game on.
Right. But again, we're talking about day 3. And I like the idea of bringing in, again, a guy that's has that pedigree. Maybe we can tap into something once we get him, at this level with NFL coaches, right? Maybe there's something that there's untapped potential there. Certainly, if we would have said after his freshman year at Ohio State that we'd be getting him on day 3 in 2025, we would have thought you were crazy, right? So yeah, who knows? But that's my day 3 guy.
I like it. I think that we should wrap this up since it's been so long.
Yeah, here we are. Hour and a half later. Just an absolute grind.
We thought we were just going to pump out a 30-minute podcast, first podcast, but no. We got jacked up on a Tuesday night.
Our producer and good friend, shout out 2K Clay, keeping us straight. He's just sitting over there. He's been just falling asleep. Poor guy.
I was looking at that, Joseph, earlier. Yeah. I was breaking out a prospect. I look in the top left corner. I'm like, Clay's asleep.
Poor guy.
We need him.
Yeah.
Things start to shut down.
Yeah, it's tough.
Honestly, I just want to thank for everybody hanging out with us. First episode, me and Joe are over here just scrambling. But, hey, we did it. This is a big dream of ours. What do you think, Joe?
I will say this. We're just getting started. We are absolutely fired up about it. This is a long time coming. This is something that we've been talking about doing for years. Thanks for listening. Smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter, X, if you're not already, @WeWantDallas. We want Dallas to the moon. We will see you guys next time. Peace.